Have you ever felt your heart tighten when you see your ex flourishing in their new life, scrolling through social media with that radiant smile, and convinced they've completely moved on from you? Welcome to the journey of psychological decoding with Jim. I will unveil the shocking truth that few dare to discuss. Avoidant partners don't actually move on, as you think. They simply shut down to protect their nervous system from the pressure of intimacy. You will discover why someone can suddenly disappear without a word of explanation, why they turn away when the relationship begins to feel too genuine and deep, and how you as someone with an anxious attachment style can break free from the painful chasing and avoiding cycle. Jim will guide you through a scientific lens, revealing the neural mechanisms rooted in childhood memories, showing how harsh parenting or emotional neglect molds the deep-seated fear of being truly seen by another person. But this isn't just theory. You'll gain practical tools to halt the spiral of pursuing them, from setting healthy boundaries to exercises that soothe your own nervous system, and most importantly, strategies to build self-confidence and autonomy so you no longer depend on their responses. This is not empty advice, but evidence-based guidance, refined from both extensive research and real-life client experiences. Are you ready to uncover the truth behind the silence and emancipate yourself from this lingering relationship? Hit subscribe and click the bell icon so you never miss a video, and stick around until the very end to receive the full toolkit that will transform your suffering into inner growth. Let's begin now. The moment you realize they suddenly stop texting, stop answering calls, and no longer share daily joys and sorrows as before, that is not a sign they have moved on from you. Instead, it is the signal that their nervous system has flipped the ultimate self-protection shutdown switch. Within that chilling silence, you might feel your heart constrict. They've found happiness elsewhere. They no longer care about me. Yet, in the inner world of a dismissive avoidant, what truly happens is they activate the shutdown mechanism, pausing all emotions, cutting off intimacy, in order to avoid the terror of connection. When the relationship never became deep enough to reveal flaws, when you have not even stepped into the moment of complete vulnerability, they have already closed the door, finding safety behind the emotional fortress they built from the neglect of childhood. There is no conversation declaring a breakup, no fight leaving the slightest scar upon your psyche. Instead, you receive a perfect curtain of silence, absence without absence, a mysterious void that makes you question, did I do something wrong? Was I not good enough? Yet, the issue is not you. The root lies in a dysregulated nervous system from early years, when a baby's cries were met with indifference, when hurried hugs never felt warm enough, and when caring eyes were constantly replaced by distant, distracted gazes. They learned to be silent rather than be honest. They learned to withdraw rather than share, and they chose shut down as their most secure armor, because only when the door is locked can they avoid the risk of hurt, of rejection, and being swept into emotional storms their fragile nervous system cannot withstand. You, with a passionate heart, poured in love and hope, sacrificed your own solitude to nurture the two of you, and stood ready to reveal the deepest corners of yourself. Yet what did you receive? A disappearance without explanation. When you begin to question, it seems they hide within their reset mode, posting cheerful party photos with new friends, updating social feeds as if nothing ever happened, living as if no trace of you lingers in their mind. But that is not a brilliant display of confidence, it is a brittle veneer covering inner panic. They are fleeing the inner work you tirelessly strive for, understanding emotions, confronting fear of closeness, and healing core wounds. Imagine a class that never gets taught, a coach abandoned in the training ground. That is your state when you try to decode their action. You will suffer day after day, trapped in endless speculation. Do they hate me now? Are they erasing me from memory step by step? Do they secretly laugh at how foolish I am? The truth is, you deserve a fair explanation. You deserve them to respect you enough to say, I need time to come back to myself. But you do not need those words to affirm your worth. True self-respect arises when you understand your boundary 7. If the other person remains silent, you can tell yourself, I am strong enough to let go when my needs are unmet. I am mature enough to respect their space while still upholding my own value. In that moment, you are no longer a victim of the chase and withdraw game, but become the author of your own life. Respecting yourself is not some lofty ideal. It is how you set healthy limits, No more desperate messages. No more social media interrogations. No more compromising your dignity for scraps of contact. Instead, you invest in yourself, writing an emotional journal, practicing mindfulness to soothe your nervous system, and engaging in confidence, building activities, exercising, learning a new skill, or simply connecting with genuine friends. Because only when you truly honor yourself will you no longer measure your worth by their silence. You will see it as a clear indicator. I deserve proactive engagement and consistent affection. If it does not come from them, I will channel that energy back to myself and to relationships that truly value me. Here, we are not merely distinguishing moving on from shutting down, but reaffirming the power of self-respect and sincerity to ourselves. When their nervous system closes the door, you do not need to break down that wall for forgiveness. Instead, build your own emotional home secure and steadfast so that every step you take henceforth stands as proof of your unshakable worth. After understanding how self-respect empowers you to let go and uphold your own worth, we now move to the pivotal topic, the physiological, neurological causes that lead a dismissive avoidant not merely to fall silent, but to literally sever connection at the deepest level of their nervous system. When a relationship becomes genuinely intimate, when emotions surge, the need for mutual sharing and understanding rises, and the boundary between two souls begins to blur. They cannot process that overwhelming flood of emotional stimuli. Biologically, their amygdala brain's fear processing hub registers this closeness as a life or death threat. The sympathetic nervous system instantly floods the body with adrenaline and cortisol, driving them into an emergency fight or flight response. Unlike a direct fight response, the dismissive avoidant opts for flight by effectively disabling all emotional signaling. They don't just go quiet, they sever the connection between heart and mind. Simultaneously, the parasympathetic branch, specifically the freeze response described in polyvagal theory, may also kick in, causing a total emotional shutdown where they lose the capacity even to feel or communicate. Outwardly, they may appear calm, posting cheerful photos on social media or joking with friends, yet internally they endure a silent storm, pounding heart, tense muscles, rapid breathing, while their conscious mind has distanced itself from any capacity for empathy or commitment. This reaction is not merely a temporary coping strategy. If repeatedly triggered by early experiences of parental indifferences, such as prolonged cry it out methods or the absence of comforting eye contact and nurturing embraces, their nervous system becomes rewired to be hypersensitive to intimacy. Each time they enter a new relationship, their brain compares it to those formative experiences. And if the danger signal outweighs the safety cue, their physiological defense system will again slam shut all emotional connection. Thus, their behavior is not a sign they have moved on from you, but a manifestation of a dysregulated nervous system. They lack the skills to pause and breathe, to self-soothe, to reduce their adrenaline and cortisol levels, and so they must disconnect entirely to survive. Like a safety valve releasing built-up steam under excessive pressure, their nervous system unleashes both emotion and communication to prevent an internal explosion. Recognizing this mechanism does more than free you from personalizing their silence. It equips you with a powerful tool for your own release. Instead of seeking answers from them, apply techniques directly to your own nervous system practices, such as the 4-7-8 breathing technique, mindfulness meditation, or progressive muscle relaxation, to restore your own sense of safety and calm. When you fully grasp that this disconnection is their survival switch, you will no longer perceive it as a personal slight, but as a physiological reflex they have yet to learn to regulate. From there, you become the master of your own emotional capacity, steadfastly living with self-love and genuine respect for your personal journey. And it is only when you nurture a resilient, adaptable nervous system that you can truly open your heart to another, an individual mature enough to love without fear, rather than a collection of fragments haunted by avoidance. Having grasped how an avoidant partner's nervous system flips into survival shutdown mode when facing intimacy, let us now delve into the childhood roots that sow the seeds of their fear of connection and the subconscious belief that I am flawed or I don't deserve love. In early childhood, a child's greatest need is companionship, attentive listening, and warm embraces from caregivers. However, families who adopt the prolonged cry it out method leaving infants to self-soothe, without comforting hugs or verbal reassurance, unknowingly convey that your emotions don't matter. When cries echo unanswered, yearning for a soft touch or a loving gaze, a deep-seated conviction takes hold. If I express strong emotion, I will be abandoned. Or, more broadly, I was born not good enough. .com. Moreover, the absence of genuine interaction when parents are physically present but mentally elsewhere, absorbed by work or devices, imprints a profound insecurity on the helpless child. I must be self-reliant. I cannot depend on anyone. Gradually, the child learns to suppress the innate need for attention and withdraw from any sign of closeness, preemptively protecting themselves from the hurt of unmet expectations. This is why, upon reaching adulthood, those with a dismissive avoidant attachment feel intense pressure under the mantle of intimacy. Rather than being a source of joy, closeness is perceived as a threat. These formative experiences forge the lens through which they view all subsequent relationships. Instead of equating love with safety, they associate intimacy with a surge of fear, a racing heartbeat, shallow breaths, a claustrophobic sensation that compels them to flee. The moments when a child is placed in a crib alone, hearing a distant "mommy" or "daddy," without receiving a responsive presence, become survival imprint triggers so potent that, even in adulthood, they react as though in genuine peril. When a dismissive avoidant matures under the internalized conviction, "I don't deserve attention," they never learn to ask for help or articulate their emotions. Instead of saying, "I am sad," or "I am afraid," they withdraw into silence and shut the door on their feelings. This pattern profoundly shapes their relational communication. There are no heartfelt confessions, no sincere apologies, only abrupt disappearances that serve as their only known method for avoiding the resurrection of childhood wounds. By understanding the childhood origins of avoidant behavior, you can transform your perspective. Rather than assigning blame or demanding explanations, you can extend compassion, for you now recognize that they are not intentionally hurting you, but acting on survival pathways taught decades ago. This insight makes it easier to let go of resentment, for you see in their silence not a denial of your love, but a reflection of their unhealed inner child who has never been taught to receive, let alone give love, safely. Armed with this awareness, you will find yourself less devastated when they fail to reciprocate your affection. Instead, you'll view their withdrawal as a reminder. This person needs healing before they can journey alongside me. And from that place of understanding, you free yourself from bitterness and turn your focus inward, nurturing the same warmth, respect, and authentic connection that you long to share with another. Only when you have truly experienced being seen and valued can you step into a secure relationship where both partners grow together, rather than persist in a one-sided dance of closeness and avoidance. Having recognized that your partner's silence stems from childhood trauma and their nervous system's self-protective mechanisms, we now move on to a crucial step: empathize and understand without self-blame. You must learn to place yourself in the shoes of someone who has endured profound loneliness, the ache of feeling unseen and unheard. When they disappear without explanation, instead of hastily attributing fault to yourself, "I wasn't good enough. What did I overlook?" Remember that their withdrawal is not a measure of your worth, but rather a survival response encoded from a childhood devoid of emotional safety. This is when you cultivate compassion, acknowledging that they have never known how to nurture their own feelings, never learned to express pain, and whose nervous system defaults to venting by severing contact. Empathy does not mean condoning disrespectful behavior. Rather, it means seeing the root cause, so you do not bear the weight of unwarranted guilt or resentment. It is also a recognition that every person carries chapters of a story we cannot fully comprehend. Simultaneously, you must uphold radical personal responsibility. That means refusing to let yourself spiral into self-destructive patterns of guilt, self-blame, or desperate pursuit in search of answers. Personal responsibility is the commitment to care for your own nervous system, emotions, and needs first. Ask yourself, what have I done today to comfort myself? What healthy boundaries have I set to avoid getting sucked into emotional turmoil? Am I allowing myself rest and recuperation? By practicing small daily rituals, gratitude journaling, mindfulness, meditation, or joining a support group, you gradually build inner resilience and affirm, My worth does not depend on anyone's words or silence. When you take charge of your healing journey, you also grant your partner the agency to navigate their snow. One can walk in your shoes, and no one carries both of your burdens alone. When empathy and personal responsibility combine, they form a powerful catalyst that helps you maintain equanimity. You might tell yourself, I understand their fear, but I do not have to accept their treatment. I will respect their boundaries and also honor my own. You do not need to beg for their concern or an explanation to close a painful chapter, because true closure arises from within, from embracing your own wounds, healing them with compassion, and steadfastly protecting your self-worth. In this process, you can create moments of self-reconnection. Take a walk in nature, enroll in a creative class, or simply savor a quiet cup of tea to anchor your presence. These self-care rituals will remind you, you deserve love and respect, even when others cannot provide it. Ultimately, empathizing without self-blame also means refusing to let the past dictate the present. Acknowledging that their pain originates in yesterday does not entitle it to shackle your heart today. You can smile gently at fond memories while releasing the ones that hurt. You are stronger than you think, because compassion not only gives, but also reclaims your spiritual freedom. Let this lesson become the solid foundation for your next relationship home, built on emotional openness, mutual respect, and the capacity to empathize without losing yourself. When you master the art of understanding and empathy without self-blame, you cease chasing someone else's shadow and instead become the light that illuminates your own path, ready to share that positive energy with anyone worthy. Now that I've mastered empathy without blaming myself, let me share a personal story, my experience of living together, discovering infidelity, and watching a relationship collapse the moment I accidentally tapped into his fear of intimacy. I, Jim, vividly recall the day I moved into a cozy downtown apartment with my boyfriend after 2 years of dating. I envisioned evenings sipping coffee, cooking together, reading side by side, and sharing dreams late into the night. I carried with me all the hopes of a new beginning, one built on freedom, intimacy, and unwavering trust. Yet barely a month later, things began to shift offbeat. It started with delayed replies to messages, interrupted phone calls, then frequent busy weekends. I tried to dismiss the signs, telling myself, he's just swamped at work. Then one evening, I came home early, eager to make his favorite pasta dish. The apartment was eerily silent from the living room to the kitchen, not a soul in sight. The lights were on, his keys still in the door, but he was gone. I called him, only to hear a woman's voice on the other end. He's here with me. My chest tightened. In our pristine white bedroom, I spotted scattered clothing and personal items strewn about, undeniable evidence of a third party. When he finally returned, his calm expression, as though nothing had happened, left me reeling. Why? I asked, voice quavering. Why did you betray me? He looked down, a flicker of guilt in his eyes, then quickly replaced by detachment. I didn't want to hurt you, he said, but I just needed space, no one intruding. In that moment, I saw the invisible wall he had built, a barrier I had unknowingly touched when I sought closeness. The intimacy I craved triggered his nervous system's escape reflex, compelling him to disconnect completely. In the days that followed, our shared home felt like two parallel worlds. I tried to maintain calm, orchestrating gentle evenings in hopes he would open up. Yet every attempt, every gentle touch, every tender word was deflected by his distant gaze, sighs, or retreat to his phone. I recognized that I was not the victim of random indifference, but of an instinctual survival response. Whenever I bared my heart, he perceived threat and instinctively shut down. Eventually, I stopped asking why and began asking myself, am I triggering his deepest fear? That question earned no answer, but drove him further away. Then one Sunday morning, tears still wet on my cheeks, I realized how many sacrifices I had made for a relationship with no room for vulnerability. I remembered him whispering, I love you, in the kitchen, only to shift his gaze when I reached to return the embrace. I saw clearly that this pain wasn't my doing, but stemmed from his childhood wound, a wound that knew only one defense: retreat. In that instant, the decision crystallized. I had to let go. I packed my belongings, boxed away our cherished memories, and walked out of the doorway we once shared. Standing at that threshold, heart aching yet resolute, I felt the power of self-respect. I had the courage to face the truth and the dignity not to drown in another's suffering. I told myself, he didn't leave because I was inadequate. He left because he cannot tolerate intimacy. I deserve someone willing to lean in, not someone who flees at the first sign of closeness. This ending offered no neat closure line, but heralded a new beginning for Mione grounded in steadfast self-esteem and sincere authenticity. I learned that only when we confront others' fears without turning them inward can we protect our own worth and truly begin the journey of healing. Having heard the illustrative personal story, witnessed the fallout of touching someone's fear of intimacy, and grasped the importance of self-respect and compassion, we now arrive at the reframe for those with an anxious attachment style. This section will guide you out of the harmful chasing, avoiding cycle, and help you re-establish the most crucial relationship, the one with yourself. First, you must recognize the chasing, avoiding cycle. The more you express, text, call, and seek reasons to meet and demand explanations, the more your partner feels threatened and withdraws. They avoid to protect their nervous system. You chase to soothe your anxiety, and so the loop tightens. This cycle generates stress, doubt, and pain for you, while compelling them to flee again and again, because every emotional push you make heightens their sense of threat. By identifying this pattern, you reduce panic, stop blaming yourself when they go silent, and gain the clarity to pause and ask, am I disregarding their boundaries in my quest for emotional safety? Second, instead of trying to fix or save them, teach your body and mind a new mantra: I am safe alone, I can heal myself. This is more than a hollow chant, it is a daily practice. Whenever anxiety arises, instead of sending that follow-up message or dialing their number, pause, breathe deeply, and silently affirm, I am safe. I am capable of caring for my feelings. You can employ the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7, exhale for 8, or a daily 5-minute mindfulness meditation to observe emotional waves without clinging. This process retrains your nervous system to trust that you do not require external validation for safety. When your mind learns it is not under threat, your body releases its vigilance, and you no longer feel compelled to fill the silence with frantic outreach. Finally, bear in mind that their silence does not evaluate your worth, but only reflects their own limit in attachment and endurance. When they stop communicating, it is not because you lack value, but because they have not learned to tolerate intense feelings. It is akin to a non-swimmer retreating from rough waves, not because the water itself is a personal rejection, but because they lack the skill to remain afloat. Once you internalize this, you will resist the temptation to self-blame, self-deprecate, and desperately pursue. You will understand their silence as a limiting signal of their own capacity, and you can respect that limit while still honoring your own self-worth and dignity. This reframe empowers you to step out of the role of emotional pursuer and into that of self-sufficient agent. You become proactive in managing your inner world, knowing when to pause, when to self-heal, when to open up to safe relationships, and when to decline unhealthy ones. By practicing positive affirmations, using techniques to regulate your nervous system, and understanding that their silence says nothing about your inherent value, you build a robust inner foundation. From there, every future relationship can unfold on a bedrock of mutual respect, honesty, and support. No more damaging chase and avoid patterns. And you, with a calm and resolute mind, will move forward confidently, knowing that, whether noise or silence surrounds you, within you lies a sanctuary of peace and completeness. In summary, from distinguishing moving on versus shutting down, exploring the physiological, neurological mechanisms, tracing back to childhood origins, learning to empathize without self-blame, hearing the personal story, and applying the safe reframe for anxious attachment, you now hold a detailed roadmap to liberate yourself from the painful chasing, avoiding cycle. Remember, their silence does not define your worth. Fear of intimacy is a result of past wounds, not your fault. And above all, you are fully capable of feeling safe even when alone. Now it's time to take action. Set healthy boundaries, nurture your nervous system and spirit with breathing exercises, meditation, and positive self-talk, and build self-respect by dedicating time to what you love. If you found this content valuable, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss our next video. Share your story or ask questions in the comments below so we can support each other and grow together. Thank you for sticking with me until the end. Remember, personal freedom and inner flourishing are waiting for you just ahead.